Welcome to the Leadership Lovers Podcast. I'm your host, Will Gladhart, CMO at the Culture Think Tank. At the Culture Think Tank, we empower leaders with metrics that strengthen culture, drive performance, and return. We're here today to learn about the actions leaders have taken to address organizational change. Our guest today is Captain Rick Hoffman, CEO of Orion Solutions. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I thought we would start by having you share with our audience a bit about yourself, your background, and your organization.
I'm a retired Navy captain. I commanded 2 U.S. Navy warships. The Boston street sign behind me was given to me when I visited the city aboard USS Way City in 2002. I retired from the Navy in 2003 and started the company Orion Solutions, LLC, where we take old sailors and put them on the podium or on board the ship to teach young sailors how to use their weapon systems and sensors to fight their ship safely so they can grow up to be old sailors. What's my company do? We make old sailors. And right now, some of our kids are in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden fighting the Houthi rebels. The USS Carney and USS Hudner are 2 of the ships that we've done a lot of work training their combat systems. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we'll be discussing 3 questions today. As a warm-up to start our conversation, would you share why you believe a healthy culture is critical?
Well, a healthy culture is essential for staying focused on the mission, for getting the job done. In my world, I would call that morale. Morale is the sum of how good I feel about my leadership, how good I feel about my role in the team, whether I'm trained, given the equipment to do my job, whether I'm appreciated for the contribution I make, and whether or not my efforts are rewarded, and that there's clarity in how I'm promoted and how I'm rewarded. It's harder to know how morale is going than it is to have an appreciation for how important morale is. So morale is the cornerstone of combat readiness. A healthy culture is the cornerstone of business effectiveness.
I like that. That's a really good way to think about that. What do you see as the biggest challenge that leaders face when addressing a challenge in an organization, or what specifically you're faced in your own leadership in the military?
Alignment. Alignment is the key. Having a clear vision and articulating it in such a way that everyone understands exactly what the mission is. As an example, when I took command of USS Way City in 2001, she'd been a research and development ship for the Navy to bring a new combat systems capability to the fleet. And so a lot of people had specifically found themselves on that ship because the ship did not deploy. She was not a warfighting ship. She had lost her ability. My predecessor, understanding that he had been part of that earlier culture, he could not affect change, brought me in 1 year to the day before we made our first deployment back to the Middle East after 5 years of hiatus. I had to turn the ship back into a warship. I had to get them out of the idea that they're going to go home every single day. They're going to spend the summer with their families. They're not going to make a 6-month deployment. And I had to get them aligned. I had to beat down some very, very mature cultures and focus them on making sure that they were ready to fight the ship. 9/11 occurred 8 months after I took command. And as an alignment tool, the result was my sailors understood what I was doing and why I was doing it. And they were ready to go when we deployed in January. I'm in the midst of a big change right now. I started my company. We've got about 50 employees. There's some inefficiencies. We're not professional. We're not entrepreneurs. There's a lot we don't know. We've solved a lot of problems through brute force. I hired a consultant to come in and look at how we do business, to build some controls, to look at our finances, because we're making okay money, but there's some inefficiencies. I have 3 very senior retired Navy enlisted guys who were the top of their field and have a very high opinion of themselves. And I had to bring them together and say, guys, it's not about ego. We got where we got. We need to fix it. Don't go back and explain how you got where you got. Recognize that where we need to go is different than where we are. And every one of them gets it. And we're completely 100% on board on this one.
Yeah, those are 2 very different types of challenges, and not only on the military side, but also on the running a business and being of that more entrepreneurial mindset. What do you think that leaders can do to address the challenge they are facing, or what have you done?
I think that they have to be open and honest. That's the biggest thing. A leader is going to lose the support and the hearts and minds of their team if they're inconsistent, if they don't have a valid interest in the well-being of the organization. if they don't fully realize that their actions, their words, their deeds have an effect all the way down to what I would call the deck plates, the guys on the deck plates doing the hard work. The other thing is consistency. I made a point early in my Navy career. I had a captain that every single day would come back with some great idea, and you'd have to do a 90-degree turn and a 90-degree turn, and he never got anywhere. I chose my team. I said, I'm going to establish my priorities today. This was the first day I took command, and I'm going to not change them without some thought, some conversation, and then it will be deliberate over a period of time. Basically, I establish the priorities, stay focused, and keep articulating that. But don't, by any of your actions, undermine that which you said you were going to do or that which you said was important. Okay, so you can't say that people are important and then not taking care of your people.
Absolutely. And we, with the type of research and work we do at the Culture Think Tank, it's, we specifically focus on the one behavior or the one thing that the leader can do to take the next steps based on the needs and feedbacks of their employees. One thing I did want to ask you, we kind of had a quick conversation before we recorded, was you mentioned that in the corporate world or business world, you get to pick the individuals that you work with, or you get to pick the individuals that might be your right-hand man or woman on the job. And you noted that when you step into a role such as changing the morale or the leadership in a ship, that you get what you get. And so can you expand on that just a little bit? I thought it was really fascinating.
Well, that's right. When I took command of USS Way City, I had 400 young men and women who'd been there for a while. My executive officer, the number two, the guy with whom I have to place. I mean, somebody's got to be in charge when I'm sleeping, and I have to trust that guy. He was there when I got there, and then he was relieved by someone else. And I had to figure out first, how do I make them align with my own ideals, my own values, and my own focus, my own strategic vision? How do I know when they're not buying into that program? How do I influence them to make sure that they are effective in pushing my focus on my agenda? And that goes all the way down to the deck plate, the most junior folks. Not only do I have the value of the Uniform Code of Military Justice to enforce my whim, and quite frankly, the Uniform Code of Military Justice can mask bad leadership. I'm going to get results in many cases, despite my failure of leadership, because they have to do it the way I told them to do it. But at the same time, if you rely on that, first you need to be aware of it, and many aren't. But more importantly, you got to recognize that it gives you an advantage that you can mask. It's a privilege, as it were, that you don't normally have in the corporate world. So you got to bring them along. And once you get what you get, you got to make sure that you understand their strengths and their weaknesses, and you work around them. You elevate those folks who complement your leadership team, and you marginalize those guys that are counterproductive.
Right. And I think that can apply in any business situation where, you're looking to align your team, your staff, your organization to those same types of leadership values, the same direction, getting everyone on the same bus. So I really appreciate you sharing those thoughts. Is there anything else that you'd like to add as a parting thought for other leaders?
Well, yeah, it's in the Navy, in fact, in the military, we place high value on leadership. And we forget that there's other issues that may or may not be effective. We also kind of denigrate the idea of management. We're leaders, not managers. Managers are like British, nobility looking down on shopkeepers. Well, in my view, management and leadership are the opposite sides of the same coin. You're looking through the same window in different directions. I don't think I can lead a poorly managed organization. And in the Navy, in many cases, I couldn't control some of the big management efforts that were happening above me. I don't own my schedule. I don't own pay rate. I don't own promotion. I can influence those things, but I don't own them. So I have to make sure that where management's failing externally, I need to make sure I understand that and accommodate that in how I lead the rest of my team, make sure that the guys that richly deserve to get promoted in spite of the program that the Navy operates. The other thing that currently we've gotten in today's political view, we've fallen all over ourselves in politicizing things that I think shouldn't be politicized. As an example, here in Florida, we've really gotten really unhappy about the issue of diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I think that equity and inclusion, if you look at my LinkedIn page, you'll see a little paper I wrote. Equity and inclusion they go back to your first statement. They are the logical outcome of a good culture. Mm-hmm. If I know that I'm going to get promoted fairly, if I know what the processes are for me getting rewarded for my work, if I know that I'm going to be hired based on my value to the company and not by some other means, the result of that is going to be good morale. It's going to be cohesiveness in the workforce. It's going to be productivity and efficiencies based on collaboration and cooperation versus me directing actions to take place. The more I direct, the less I can do for myself, the less I can help the company. Micromanagement is a leadership failure. But if I don't trust you, I'm going to micromanage you. Okay? If you don't trust me, you're going to need to be micromanaged. Let's not get fogged out about catchphrases and terminologies, but understand that it's important for everyone on the team to realize the role they play and the importance that they have to everyone else on the team. And you can't fake that. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be absolutely genuine. I put my team together in 2008. I've got the same 4 guys in my headquarters staff, but we're still here. We're going to work together till one of us retires, and I'm the oldest one in the group, so I'm probably first to go.
Well, I'm sure you've still got lots to contribute to a lot of different leaders and businesses. So, Captain Rick, I've enjoyed having you on our Leadership Lovers podcast. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks, Will. Glad to help. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Leadership Lovers podcast. Find all our Leadership Lovers episodes on the Culture Think Tank website at www.theculturethinktank.com or listen on your favorite streaming platform. We'd love to hear from you about the challenges you have faced as a leader. Tune in weekly as we invite leaders to share their experiences in strengthening culture and performance, one action at a time.